Okay, now we already know how to find the greatest common factor of monomials. Next, I'm gonna show you how to use the distributive property and the greatest common factor to factor a polynomial. Now let's say we have a binomial 4x to the third plus 6x squared, and I want to factor this binomial. Remember, when we factor a polynomial means we want to write this into a product of other polynomials, right? So now here we have two factors. Now the first factor gonna be our greatest common factor, which we know is 2x squared. Now the second factor gonna have two terms. So you may wonder, how do I know it has two terms, not three terms, not one term? Let me use this example to show you. Now let's first forget about the x. Let's say you have a 4 plus 6, and if you factor out 2, what you are left? You should be left with 2 plus 3, right? So that's why when you multiply 2 plus 3 by 2, you will get the same thing, 4 plus 6. So initially I have two terms, so that's why in my second factor I also should have two terms. Okay, so now the question is how can we determine what are these two terms? So like here, how did I determine the two terms are 2 and 3? I divided the 4 by 2, and then I divided by 6 by 2. So therefore here we use the same method. Now once I determine the greatest common factor is 2x squared. So now if I use a 4x to the third divided by 2x squared. Now this is the practice we had in the lecture 1, right? So we have 2 times x to the third divided by x squared is x to the 3 minus 2, so it's 2x. So this term is 2x. And plus, now the next term is 6x squared divided by 2x squared, so that's 3. Okay. So the factors of this binomial are 2x squared and 2x plus 3. Okay. Let's look at another example. Let's see. We have 4x plus 18. Okay, so first I'm gonna determine what is the greatest common factor of these two monomials, 4x and 18. So first let's look at the number part. The greatest common factor of 4 and 18 is 2. Okay. Right, so because 4 equals 2 times 2 and 18 equals 2 times 3 times 3. Okay. Now let's do the variable part. 4x, the variable is x. Now 18 doesn't have a variable. Or you can think the variable of 18 is x raised to the power of 0, right? Because we said everything except 0, when it reaches to the power of 0, the result is 1, right? So if you compare the power of these two variables, you will see the lower variable is 0. So the variable power is 2 times x to the power of 0, which is 2. Okay, so now the greatest common factor is 2. So we put 2 here. Then we decide the second factor, and we know there are 2 terms, because initially we have 2 terms. So the first term, we have 4x divided by 2, so it's 2x. So it's 2x. And for the second term, we have 18 divided by 2, so that's 9. Okay. Okay. And you can verify your result. So how do you verify your result? You multiply, 2x plus 9 by 2. So you distribute 2 into 2x plus 9. Now you have 4x plus 18. So that's why the answer is correct.